In the distant future, Earth had long been a symbol of peace and harmony for the human race. After centuries of exploration, humanity had spread across the stars. Colonies flourished on far-off planets, and Earth was seen as the cradle of civilization. Yet, there was one thing no one could ever have guessed. Earth itself held a secret buried deep beneath its surface, waiting to be discovered. It all began with a group of astronauts, the best and brightest humanity had to offer. Captain Emily Sinclair, along with her team, was assigned a routine mission to map uncharted areas of the Earth's deep underground. They had no idea that this mission would change the course of history forever. Their spacecraft landed near a mountain range known for its strange magnetic activity, and they set out to investigate. As they dug deeper into the rocky terrain, they found something that didn't belong, an alien structure. It was not of human design, and its size was unlike anything they had seen before. The structure was massive, hidden away from the world for what seemed like eternity. It was a labyrinth of metal and stone, with intricate patterns carved into the walls, glowing faintly with an otherworldly energy. The team was shocked. They had heard of ancient ruins on distant planets, but never imagined that Earth could be hiding something so mysterious. As they explored the site, they noticed strange symbols etched into the walls. Some of the symbols seemed familiar, human-like, yet ancient and alien at the same time. It was clear that this was not just a simple structure. It was something much more. Emily felt a growing sense of unease. The deeper they went, the stronger the sensation that they were being watched. Every shadow seemed to move, and every noise echoed with an unnatural feeling. Yet, her curiosity drove her forward. The discovery was too important to ignore. She ordered her team to continue. As they moved further into the heart of the structure, they came across a chamber that seemed to be the core of the entire site. In the center was a massive control panel, glowing with bright blue light. The team worked quickly to activate it, eager to learn what secrets it held. And then, everything changed. The moment they powered up the control panel, the walls around them began to shake. The ground trembled beneath their feet. The lights flickered, and a low hum filled the air. It was as if the structure had come alive. And in that moment, the team realized they were not alone. An alien presence, dormant for centuries, stirred. A voice, deep and resonant, echoed in their minds. "You have awakened the Guardians. Leave now, or face the consequences." Fear gripped Emily's heart. She could feel the weight of the warning, but her mind raced. What were these Guardians? And why had they been hidden on Earth all this time? The team quickly tried to disconnect the control panel, but it was too late. The chamber began to close, and the walls shifted in ways that didn't seem possible. Emily and her team were trapped. Panic set in as they tried to find a way out, but every path seemed to lead to more confusion. They realized that the structure had been designed to protect something incredibly powerful. But what? Outside the structure, the rest of the world had no idea what was happening. Governments and military forces scrambled to get in contact with Emily and her team, but the underground facility was shielded from all communication. Earth was on the verge of a revelation that would forever change the course of human history, yet no one knew it yet. In the midst of the chaos, Emily's mind raced. The symbols, the warning from the Guardians, what were they protecting? And why Earth? She felt an overwhelming urge to keep going, to uncover the final piece of the puzzle. If she didn't, they might never understand the truth. Suddenly, the control panel flickered back to life, and a new message appeared on the screen. The Earth's legacy is not what you believe it to be. You have no idea what you have awakened. The truth will be your undoing. The words sent chills down Emily's spine. It was as if the very planet itself was warning them to stop. But she couldn't. She had to know the truth. As the chamber began to collapse, Emily made a desperate decision. She ordered her team to follow her through a hidden passageway she had discovered earlier. The walls were closing in, but she was determined to escape with the knowledge they had uncovered. After what seemed like an eternity, they finally made it outside, breathless and covered in dust. But what they had discovered would change everything. Earth was not just the home of humanity. It had been the home of a long-lost alien civilization, one that had hidden itself away when they realized that their own creations had become too powerful. The Guardians had been left behind to protect the truth, and now humanity had awakened it. The world above them was still unaware of what had happened beneath their feet. But Emily knew that things could never go back to the way they were. The secret of Earth was out, and the aliens watching over them were only the beginning. The question now was, who else was out there, and how would they react to humanity's discovery? In that moment, Emily understood the warning. The truth was far greater and far more dangerous than they could have ever imagined. In the not-so-distant future, humanity had finally achieved what seemed impossible: peace. After years of conflict with alien species, Earth had found a fragile truce with many of the galaxy's most powerful races. But deep within the shadows, something was brewing. The peace was fragile, and the true threat had always been hidden in plain sight. Captain Leo Walker led a small team of elite soldiers, tasked with a simple but crucial mission: inspect a newly discovered planet that had recently been marked for colonization. It was a beautiful world, one with clean air, green fields, and oceans that stretched as far as the eye could see. Perfect for starting a new human colony. But as Leo and his team landed, something didn't feel right. The planet, though peaceful in appearance, felt empty. No signs of life, no animals, no local inhabitants, just silence. Leo's instinct told him that this silence wasn't natural. Something was off, and it was as if the planet itself was hiding its secrets. The team set up camp and began exploring, looking for any signs of alien life. The planet's surface seemed untouched by human hands, but deep beneath the soil, something was stirring. As they explored further, they discovered strange alien technology buried in the ground structures that seemed to pulse with energy, though no one could explain how. "We need to figure out what this is," Leo said to his team. "It's not just an empty planet. Someone or something is hiding here." As they ventured deeper into the alien structures, the eerie silence continued. There were no creatures to be found, no signs of anything alive. Yet, the technology they uncovered seemed to suggest otherwise. It was too advanced, too perfect. It was as if the planet had been waiting for them. Leo's team started to feel the weight of their situation. They were being watched, though they couldn't see who or what was watching them. Then, without warning, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. The team rushed to the nearest structure, but it was too late. The planet's surface cracked open, and alien forces emerged from below. Hundreds of sleek, insect-like creatures appeared from the shadows. They were tall, with shiny black exoskeletons, their eyes glowing a bright red. The team raised their weapons, but Leo quickly realized something was wrong. These aliens weren't here to conquer, they were here to trap. The creatures moved with an unsettling calmness, surrounding the humans in seconds. Their leader, a towering figure with silver armor, stepped forward. It spoke in a language Leo didn't understand, but the tone was clear. They had been waiting for humanity to discover their trap. "We've been planning this for centuries," the alien leader finally said in perfect English. "You were never meant to find this planet. You were never meant to survive." Leo's heart raced. "What do you mean?" he asked, trying to buy time for his team to make a plan. "This planet was once ours. A perfect world built by our kind. But when your species began exploring the galaxy, you awakened something you shouldn't have. A secret we've kept hidden, and now you've come straight to it." The alien leader raised his hand, and the ground shook once more. A hidden structure, even larger than the one they had already found, rose from the ground, and inside, Leo saw something that froze his blood. A massive device, dark and ancient, hummed with an energy he couldn't comprehend. It was a weapon, no, not just a weapon. It was a key to something much worse. The aliens had been hiding on this planet, watching humanity grow. They had been waiting for humans to stumble upon their ancient weapon, the key to unlocking a power that could destroy entire civilizations. The truth was, Earth wasn't just a peaceful world, it had always been a target. And the aliens had been using human curiosity against them, leading them straight into the trap. "We are the last of our kind," the alien leader continued, "and now that you've found our weapon, you will be the first to feel its power." Leo knew he had to act fast. "We won't let you use this," he said, his voice steady even as panic churned inside him. But the aliens were already one step ahead. The ground beneath their feet shifted again, and suddenly, the team was surrounded by an impenetrable force field. They were trapped, unable to escape. In a desperate attempt, Leo signaled for his team to try and deactivate the force field, but the alien leader only laughed. "You think you can stop us? You were never meant to understand our technology. You were never meant to survive long enough to find it." The alien raised his hand once more, and the device in the center of the structure powered up. Its energy began to pulse, growing stronger by the second. The air around them hummed, and Leo could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him. His team was out of options. Time was running out. But then, Leo's second-in-command, Sergeant Rachel Turner, noticed something. The power to the device was connected to an old control panel buried in the ruins. It wasn't perfect, but there was a chance she could break into the system. With seconds to spare, Rachel worked quickly, her fingers flying over the controls. She managed to override the system, and with one final push, the force field flickered and collapsed. The team rushed forward, their weapons ready, but the alien leader knew it was over. "You may have won this battle, humans," he said with a chilling smile, "but you cannot escape what you have started." With that, the aliens retreated into the shadows, leaving Leo and his team standing on a planet that held far more danger than they could have ever imagined. They had uncovered the truth. The trap was just the beginning. The year was 2150. Humanity had conquered the stars, and human colonies stretched across the galaxy. But with great power came great responsibility and danger. For years, scientists had been working on discovering new sources of energy to fuel humanity's growing empire. But no one was prepared for the discovery that would change everything. Dr. Mia Connors, a brilliant scientist, led a team of explorers on a mission to a distant, uncharted planet. The planet was isolated, hidden away in a remote corner of the galaxy. Their goal was simple: to study the planet's natural resources and determine if it could provide new energy sources for Earth. However, they soon learned that the planet held far more than they had expected. Upon landing, Mia and her team were struck by the planet's beauty. The landscape was wild and untamed, with dense forests, rolling mountains, and endless fields. Yet there was an eerie stillness to the place, as though something was watching them. As they set up camp and began their work, Mia's curiosity grew. There were strange readings on their instruments, unexplainable energy spikes, and magnetic anomalies that didn't make sense. The readings pointed to one location, an ancient structure buried deep in the heart of the planet's largest mountain. "Something doesn't add up," Mia muttered to herself as she examined the data. "This place shouldn't exist." With her team, she made the decision to investigate. The journey through the forest was long and exhausting, but the mysterious structure seemed to call to them. It was almost as if the mountain itself was hiding it. When they reached the structure, they were stunned. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, an enormous building of stone and metal, covered in strange symbols that no one could understand. The architecture was alien, yet somehow familiar. It looked as though it had been abandoned for centuries. But why? And who had built it? "This doesn't make sense," Mia whispered. "This technology. It's too advanced to be from any known civilization." Inside the structure, they found more surprises. The walls were lined with glowing crystals that hummed softly, casting eerie shadows. And at the center of the building was a massive machine, a device that seemed to pulse with energy. It was both beautiful and terrifying, its design unlike anything they had encountered before. As Mia approached, the machine powered up, its lights flickering to life. Before anyone could react, the ground trembled beneath them. The air grew heavy, and a deep resonant hum filled the chamber. Mia's heart raced as she realized the machine wasn't just a power source, it was alive. Something within it was awakening. "We need to leave, now," shouted Alex, one of her team members, his face pale with fear. But it was too late. The machine had activated something far more dangerous than they could have imagined. The walls began to shift, and the ground cracked open. The structure was no longer an ancient relic, it was a trap. Out of nowhere, a group of strange, shadowy figures appeared, moving with unnatural speed. They were humanoid in shape, but their features were blurred, like shadows in the dark. Mia's team was caught off guard, and the figures surrounded them in an instant. They tried to fight back, but their weapons had no effect on the shadows. "Who are you?" Mia demanded, her voice shaking with a mixture of fear and determination. One of the figures stepped forward. It spoke, but its voice was like a whisper carried by the wind. "You have awakened what should have stayed buried." Mia's mind raced. What is this place? What did we awaken? The figure's eyes glowed with an eerie light. This is not a power to be controlled. You have stumbled upon the hidden power, a force that can shape reality itself. But you were never meant to find it. Now you will pay the price for your curiosity. The team was trapped, but Mia refused to give up. She wasn't just a scientist, she was a survivor. "We won't let you control it," she said, her voice steady despite the fear threatening to consume her. The figures didn't respond immediately. Instead, they seemed to be studying Mia and her team as though assessing their worth. Then, as if making a decision, the leader of the figures raised a hand, and the machine in the center of the room powered up once more. The energy from the device surged, and for a brief moment, Mia could feel the air around her crackle with power. The figure spoke again. "You think you can control this power, but you are nothing compared to what it can do." Suddenly, the room was filled with a blinding light, and Mia felt herself being pulled into the machine. She fought to resist, but it was too strong. The energy wrapped around her like a vice, and everything went dark. When Mia awoke, she was alone. The strange figures were gone, and the machine had powered down. The chamber was silent again, but the sense of danger lingered in the air. She had no idea how much time had passed, but something had changed. The power she had awoken was still there, hidden deep within the planet. Mia stumbled out of the chamber, her team behind her. They were all shaken but alive. As they made their way back to the surface, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that they had only just begun to understand the true nature of the hidden power. The real question now was whether humanity would use it for good or if the planet's secrets would destroy them all. The war had lasted for decades. Humanity, once scattered across the stars, had united in a desperate struggle for survival against the alien forces that threatened to wipe them out. Every planet in the human empire had fallen, one by one, under the relentless assault of the invaders. But Earth, the homeworld, remained the last bastion of human hope. Captain Ethan Carter stood at the command center of the last human fleet, staring out into the vast expanse of space. His eyes were tired, his face drawn from years of constant conflict. The fleet had been pushed to the brink of destruction. Only a handful of ships remained, their resources nearly exhausted. Yet, there was one final chance, a last mission to end the war, once and for all. "We have one shot at this," Ethan said, turning to his crew. "We've discovered the location of the enemy's central command. If we can destroy it, the entire fleet will collapse. The war will be over." His voice was steady, but the weight of the task ahead pressed heavily on him. He knew the risks. A battle on this scale would likely cost them everything. But if they failed, humanity would fall. The crew nodded grimly, each of them understanding the importance of this final mission. The enemy was relentless, their ships far superior in firepower. They had no choice but to fight, even knowing the odds were against them. As they approached the enemy stronghold, the tension in the air was thick. The enemy fleet was waiting, massive ships lined up in formation, like a wall of darkness. The enemy's warships were unlike anything the humans had ever encountered, sleek, powerful, and armed with technology that seemed almost alien, even to the seasoned soldiers. "This is it," Ethan said quietly. "Prepare for battle." The final battle began with an explosion of light. The human fleet surged forward, firing everything they had. But the alien forces were ready. Their ships moved with incredible speed, dodging the human blasts and counterattacking with brutal precision. The space around them became a storm of laser fire and explosions, the soundless violence of space amplified by the sheer scale of the conflict. Ethan's ship, the Phoenix, was at the heart of the battle. His crew worked tirelessly, manning weapons, shields, and navigation, trying to keep the ship intact amidst the chaos. The enemy was relentless, their attacks pushing the human fleet back. Every ship that fell was another blow to humanity's hope. "Captain, our shields are failing," yelled Lieutenant Sarah Alvarez, her face illuminated by the flashing lights of the control panel. "We can't hold them off much longer." Ethan gripped the command chair tightly. "Don't give up. We've come too far for that." Suddenly, an alarm blared. The enemy flagship, a massive vessel that dwarfed the rest of the fleet, had turned its weapons on the Phoenix. A barrage of plasma shots slammed into the ship's hull, and the lights flickered as the ship rocked violently. "We've got to get to the Central Command," Ethan said, his voice cold with determination. "If we don't, this war is lost." He knew that the enemy's flagship was the key to ending the conflict. If they could take it down, the rest of the fleet would be vulnerable. But it wouldn't be easy. The flagship's defenses were nearly impenetrable, and their forces were overwhelming. As the battle raged on, Ethan's thoughts raced. He knew there was only one way to break through. He turned to his best pilot, Lieutenant Marcus Hayes, who was navigating their ship through the chaos. "Marcus, can you get us close enough to the flagship for a direct assault?" Ethan asked, his voice low and urgent. Marcus's hands flew over the controls. "I can try, Captain, but it's going to be close. We won't make it without heavy casualties." Ethan nodded. "Do it." The Phoenix pushed forward, dodging enemy fire and weaving through the debris of fallen ships. The alien flagship loomed ahead, its guns trained on them. With a sudden burst of speed, Marcus guided the ship into a dangerous maneuver, flying just beneath the enemy ship's shields. The crew held their breath as they approached their target. "Now, Ethan," shouted Sarah. Ethan took a deep breath, his heart racing. He gave the order. "Launch all fighters. Send everything we have at that ship." The fighters tore through space, launching a barrage of missiles and laser fire at the flagship. The massive alien ship retaliated, its defenses coming to life in a desperate attempt to protect its heart. The Phoenix danced through the fire, taking hits but pushing forward with relentless force. Ethan knew this was their only chance. As the missiles impacted, the flagship began to shudder. The lights inside the command center flickered. It was working. The flagship's core was weakening. But just as victory seemed within reach, a devastating blow struck. The Phoenix took a direct hit to its engines, and the ship lurched violently, sending the crew tumbling. "Captain, we're losing power," Sarah yelled, panic in her voice. Ethan gripped the armrests of his chair, forcing himself to stay calm. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing on him. He couldn't fail now. "All remaining forces, concentrate fire on the flagship," he commanded, his voice strong. With everything they had left, the remaining ships launched their final assault. A chain reaction erupted on the alien flagship as the last of the missiles found their mark. The massive ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, sending shockwaves throughout the battlefield. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the enemy fleet began to break apart, their ships losing coordination without the flagship's leadership. One by one, they fell, until the last of the alien forces was destroyed. Humanity had won. But at what cost? The Phoenix drifted, its engines failing and its hull battered. Ethan looked around at his crew. They were alive, but the battle had taken its toll. They had won, but they had lost so much in the process. As the remnants of their fleet regrouped, Ethan realized the war was finally over. The last battle for survival had been fought, and humanity had emerged victorious. But the scars of the war would never fade. They had won their freedom, but it had come at a price. The fight for survival was over, but the true battle for rebuilding, for healing, was just beginning. In the year 2089, time travel was no longer just a dream, it had become a reality. It was a secret known only to a small group of scientists and elite officials who guarded its discovery with their lives. The world had never known true time travel until a mysterious group, calling themselves the Keepers, unlocked its potential. But with this power came dangerous consequences, and the true extent of the technology was far darker than anyone realized. Dr. Lena Hartley, a brilliant young scientist, was one of the few who knew about the project. She had always been fascinated by time travel, but the more she learned, the more she understood how dangerous it could be. There were rules, strict guidelines to prevent the timelines from being altered. But like all great discoveries, there were those who sought to misuse it. One evening, as Lena worked in the underground lab, she discovered something that sent a chill down her spine, a hidden file, buried deep within the archives. It was titled The Time Traveler's Secret. She hesitated for a moment, unsure if she should open it. She had been warned about digging too deep into forbidden files. But her curiosity got the best of her. She opened the file. The keepers weren't just protectors of time. They were its masters, rewriting history for their own gain. They had used the technology to alter critical events, shaping the world into what they wanted it to be. But worse still, they had created a version of the future where they ruled everything. Lena's heart raced. The world as she knew it was built on lies. And now, the truth was in her hands. But there was one problem: if the keepers discovered she had found the file, they would stop at nothing to keep her silent. She quickly shut down the terminal and left the lab, her mind spinning. She had to tell someone who could help her stop this madness. But who could she trust? The keepers had eyes everywhere. She couldn't even trust her closest colleagues anymore. The next day, Lena met with her old friend, Mark, who had once been part of the time travel program. He had left the project years ago after becoming disillusioned with its true purpose. She knew he had connections, and she hoped he could help. "Lena, what are you getting yourself into?" Mark asked, his voice low as they sat in a secluded cafe. "You know this could cost you everything. The keepers don't take kindly to people digging into their secrets." "I know, but I can't stand by and do nothing," Lena replied, her voice shaking. "They've been manipulating history. They've changed the course of wars, the rise and fall of nations, all to suit their agenda. If they get away with this, we'll never be able to stop them." Mark looked around cautiously, making sure no one was watching. "We need to find a way to expose them, but we have to be careful. They're not just watching, they're controlling everything. They've created a future where they're in charge. If we're not careful, we could disappear from the timeline entirely." Lena nodded. She understood the stakes. The keepers had the power to erase people from existence if they posed a threat to their plans. And now, with the knowledge of their betrayal, she was the most dangerous person on Earth. "I've been working on something," Mark said quietly. "A way to go back and change things before they happen. If we can undo what they've done, maybe we can stop them before they take control." Lena felt a wave of hope, but it was quickly replaced by doubt. "But how?" "The timelines are delicate. Even the smallest change could destroy everything." Mark met her eyes. "We don't have a choice. The keepers have already altered history too much. We need to fight fire with fire." They made their plan to infiltrate the keepers' main facility, a high-tech compound located in a remote part of the world. It was their only chance to access the central time travel system, where they could go back and stop the keepers from rewriting history. As they prepared for the mission, the tension was palpable. Every step they took could lead to discovery. Every move could be their last. The keepers were not just powerful, they were everywhere, and their surveillance was nearly impossible to avoid. But Lena was determined. She couldn't let them win. The night of the mission, they made their way into the compound, using the shadows to conceal their movements. The facility was a fortress, guarded by high-tech security systems, but Mark had a way to bypass them. They reached the central hub, where the time travel equipment was stored, but just as they were about to access the system, they were caught. A figure stepped from the shadows, and Lena's heart sank. It was one of the keepers. "You shouldn't have come here," the man said, his voice cold and threatening. "The past is not yours to change." Mark stepped forward, trying to block Lena from view. "We won't let you control time any longer. This ends now." The keeper smiled, a chilling grin. "You think you can stop us? You're already too late. Time has been altered. You're already erased from the future." Lena's blood ran cold. They had been too late. The keeper wasn't just threatening them, he was telling the truth. They had already been erased from existence. The keeper raised his hand, Ready to activate the system, Lena and Mark shared one last look. They were about to make their final stand, not just for their lives, but for the future of humanity. The truth would be revealed, no matter what.